Happy World Cancer Day, everybody! Yeah, apparently today, February 4th, 2018, is World Cancer Day. I did not know that until this morning, but you know what? We're going to celebrate and do a vlog today. So, in my last vlog, I said that in this one I would talk about my diagnosis, so I will do that. I was officially diagnosed. The doctor spoke the words to me on May 16th, 2017. But I found out that I had cancer kind of the night before. So late on May 15th, it was around midnight, so it may have still been May 16th, I don't know. I was up, I couldn't sleep, I was worrying about my bone marrow biopsy results, and I decided to get online to check to see if my report had been posted to the online patient portal that the hematology/cancer center had for the patients. So I got on there and there was a report posted, and hindsight, I should have waited. I should have not opened that report. I should have called my doctor the next day and, let him talk to me about everything, but that's not how I am. Curiosity, I gotta tell you. So I went ahead and I opened that report, and it shocked me and it scared me, and I was alone and it was late and I just did not know what to do, because that report blatantly said that I had hypocellular bone marrow with acute myeloid leukemia with maturation. That was my official diagnosis, acute myeloid leukemia with maturation. The report showed that I had 38% blasts in my bone marrow. So that's just talking about the percentage of leukemia cells that were measured in my marrow. And this is the cause of my wacky CBC results that I had from my doctor from a few weeks prior to that. It explains the pancytopenia, like I said, and also I have my results here in front of me, so I kind of just wanted to read those to you all. The results from that very first CBC that I had that were indicated something was wrong. So, like I had said in the previous video, my levels were critical and there was alerts all over the place, and the only thing she said was normal was my B12 and my iron. And that kind of really proves to be true looking at this report, because for my white blood cells, I was at a 1.7 level. So for a healthy adult level, it's supposed to be between, the level is supposed to be between 3.4 and 10.8. I was a 1.7. My red blood cells, I was a 2.20. For a healthy adult, it's supposed to be 3.77 to 5.28. I was way low. And then, like I had said previously, I've always had trouble with my platelets, but this was even low for me. My platelets were a 61. And they're supposed to be for a normal healthy adult between 150 and 379. So I was at a 61. And then also down lower, whenever you have a CBC done, they will sometimes do what's called a differential on your CBC. And what that does is it really breaks down your number of white blood cells. You have your lymphocytes, your monocytes, your basophils, so on and so forth. There's a couple others. You just have to think back to your high school anatomy class and remember what the others are. But so there are several different kinds of your leukocytes. And then you have your neutrophil count. It's your absolute neutrophil count, your ANC, which your ANC really is big. Whenever you're going through chemo and dealing with cancer stuff, they always want to know what your ANC is, and that really dictates what you can do as far as whether or not you're allowed to leave the hospital and whether or not you have to follow a special diet and whether or not you should be wearing a mask whenever you go into public. It just, the ANC really gives a good idea of what's going on with your white blood cells. So at the time that my blood was taken for this, which was April 26th of 2017, my absolute neutrophils were a 0.1, which was critical. For a normal adult, normal healthy adult, your reference interval is 1.4 to 7.0. And again, mine was 0.1. I had nothing going on there. Like, there was no neutrophils. Like, I was just bottomed out pretty much. But again, I didn't feel sick at this time. I felt tired and, weak and things like that, but I didn't ever have a cold. I didn't ever have the flu. Any kind of sickness that would indicate that I was this sick, It's mind-blowing still, to this day to think about, I had this going on in my body and I was this sick, but I just didn't know it. But anyways, I was officially diagnosed on May 16th. That's whenever I was finally able to get a hold of my doctor. And he said those words to me, that I did have cancer. I had acute myeloid leukemia. But the next thing he said to me is what's really key, and it really was kind of set the tone for the months to come in my fight with cancer. He said that, I'm going to have to do chemo, I'm going to get sick, I'm going to lose my hair, but I'm going to be okay, and that I'm going to beat this, and that I'm going to live a long life, and that it's going to be okay. And hearing that was good, because, throughout all of this, I've been really sick, even though I still to this day don't quite comprehend that I was so sick. But I was very sick and went through a lot of crap, but I just never ever felt like I was going to succumb to this, that I was going to die from cancer. I always knew that I was going to beat this and that I was going to be a cancer survivor. I have so many things that I want to do in my life. So many things that I was not going to let cancer take that away from me at a young age. I was 26 when I was diagnosed, and I'm 27 now. I turned 27 whenever I was in the hospital with my transplant. But it's just, I always had that fighting spirit, and I really, thank my hematologist, well, now oncologist, for that positive attitude from the very beginning. So whenever I got that phone call from him, I was at work that afternoon, and I had to go around and tell my coworkers that I was sick and that I was going to be gone for a little while, and just ask them to please take care of my clients and take care of all the work that I had and everything, and just let them know what was going on. And that was really hard, and it was really hard to let my best friend know, and to let my dad know, and let my aunts and uncles. It was, I don't know, like, I was more worried for these other people than I was for myself. I just, being told that someone you love has cancer, it's devastating. And I didn't want these people to feel sad. I always want people to be happy. And it was just really hard. But anyways, so whenever I had talked to the doctor, they had told me that I needed to come to the hospital tomorrow, so the next day, which was May 17th, and they said that I needed to pack a bag and that I'd be staying for a while, which that was really, really upsetting to me. And I didn't know how to pack for the hospital. I'd never ever been in the hospital before, and it just was really, it was a surreal night for sure. And it was knowing that it was going to be my last night at home for who knows how long. I didn't know how long I would be away. But, it's one of those things, you just gotta do what you gotta do. That next morning, I woke up and I went down in the New River Gorge, which is, one of my very favorite places on earth. I love being outside, like I said in the previous video, and I just kind of sat around and, looked at everything and really thought and kind of just tried to clear my head a little bit and just get this experience in me, because I just did not know how long it was going to be before I would be able to do that again. So that was really nice to be able to do that, and then to go eat some good food before I got stuck eating hospital food forever. That was also really nice too. But eventually got to the hospital and eventually got admitted. So May 17th was my entry date, and I was in the hospital until June 20th. So it was a long time, but during that period of time, a lot of good happened. I had my first round of chemo, and it kicked my cancer. It kicked that AML, and I was in remission by June 7th is whenever I found out. No, June 6th is whenever I found out that I was in remission. So that was one of the best days ever. And hearing those words come out of my oncologist's mouth was just, I instantly burst into tears. It was amazing. But, I learned a lot about the whole system, the whole healthcare system. I was witnessing it firsthand, learned a lot about my cancer, and just, learned a lot about myself too. And because always, I've been a person who's been in control of my life. I always, I was doing what I was doing, and, no one was stopping me. No one was really helping me. I was very, very independent. And then suddenly being in the hospital, that independence is just stripped from you, because you're stuck here. You can't leave. You have this chemo going. It's making you sick. You're completely reliant on your nurses and your doctors to help you. And, you have to do things on hospital time, which is not quick. Anyone who's been in the hospital knows that, things don't happen quickly. If you ask for maybe some, Tylenol, it could be an hour before the nurse gets back with it. Nothing happens quick. And that was so hard for me to accept and to just get used to, because like I said, I've always been independent. And that was just the opposite of that. So that was really difficult for me to get used to, but I finally did. And then, like I said, I learned a lot about myself and about all kinds of things. But that's pretty much it as far as, how I was diagnosed. I don't know if I mentioned this, but whenever I was diagnosed, I did have a couple abnormalities or complications, whatever you want to call it. With my AML, I also had something called monosomy 7, which means that with the 7th chromosome, I believe it was just the 7th chromosome of the leukemia cells. But the 7th chromosome, one of those chromosomes it had been deleted. So I have a picture here that I printed out from online. This is what our chromosome looks like. Our chromosomes, for females and males, they're different. Females, so that's your X's are down there. And we all have our, there we go, maybe. We all have our chromosomes. For number 7 here, of course we have 2, but one of these was somehow, it was deleted. It was a mutation. The mutation was, it was gone. I just had one of these, and that was an issue. That was a major issue. And actually, monosomy 7, it complicates AML, and it makes, I guess, treating it and makes long-term remission more difficult. So there was that. And then I also found out later on that, because it takes a while for them to get all of these genetic things back whenever you have your bone marrow biopsy. So I was actually already in the hospital whenever I found this out, some information about my very first bone marrow biopsy that I had in April. So it took that long to get some of the chromosome and genetic results back. But my oncologist told me that one of the results back from my biopsy was that I had this other mutation it's called RUNX1. I think it affects the 21st chromosome maybe, so the 21 chromosome, but basically it does something and it messes with how the stem cells, whenever our bone marrow is making stem cells, those stem cells can then divide into white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets. It does something and messes with the maturation of that. I honestly don't quite know. And he told me that RUNX1 is actually what has always caused my thrombocytopenia. So it's what has always caused my low platelet levels and my bruising for my whole life. And it was crazy to me, like why wasn't this found whenever I had my bone marrow biopsy back whenever I was in 5th grade? Why didn't they find it, and why didn't they, say anything about it? And he said that that because this was only found recently, that within the past couple of years is they've discovered this RUNX1 only within the past couple of years, and they didn't know anything about it back in the day whenever I was having my original testing done whenever I was little. So that was crazy to me that they found this new I don't know what you want to call it, I guess, gene abnormality. And I have it. And he said that, sometimes that RUNX1 can run in families, sometimes it's just random, it just happens. And as far as I know, nobody in my family has it. Nobody in my family has ever had leukemia before, and no one has ever had trouble with their platelets before. So I think that I'm the oddball, and I have it, or I guess maybe had it. I think my transplant took care of that. But but I think I was the only person in my family who had that RUNX1. So it was interesting and just crazy to, finally have a reason for why my platelets have always been the way they were, low. So there was that. But luckily, the first chemo that I did, the induction chemo, it actually, like I said before, put me into remission, and it did correct the monosomy 7 issue. So that was an amazing blessing for sure. But that's pretty much it with my diagnosis, though, I think. It was definitely it all happened very quick. But that quickness is because AML is a very aggressive form of leukemia, and they just had to move that quick. And so I understand that now, but at the time it was just, a complete whirlwind for sure. My brain was just spinning, but it all turned out for good. So that's pretty much it for this vlog, I think. The next vlog I will probably talk about my first hospitalization and just, everything that happened and things like that. Like I said, I was in the hospital for over a month the first time, from May 17th until June 20th. But I will talk about that in my next vlog, and as always, in the meantime, if you all are watching this and you have any questions, just leave a comment below and I will try to answer your questions. And in the meantime, just be well and be happy.